AKAPADers. Welcome to the AKAPAD Film Buff Podcast. This is where I obsessively bring you every little thing I watch. And on Saturdays and on Sundays, we emulate as a child. If you grew up in the 80s, if you grew up in the 90s, you would wake up, grab a bowl of cereal, and watch some cartoons. And one of those cartoons, the USA Network, on Sundays, they started to grow their animation profile. And they had some big properties. They had Eric Larson's Savage Dragon from the newly crowned King of Comic Books, Image Comics. Savage Dragon, Mortal Kombat, and today's topic, today's theme, Street Fighter 2. Here's the wild thing, my AKAPADers. What you're about to hear, what I'm about to talk to you about, it's not anywhere. Because I've watched these episodes. Everything about this series is easily dismissed, and there are some broad ideas to the Street Fighter franchise outside of it being a video game. There's a lot of broad ideas that just are not touched on. This is a monumental feat, and I'm going to explain it to you. So let's hit it. Let's go.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
So a part of all of this, AKAPADers, is why do I do this? Why do I put so much money, so much effort, so much time? Why do I incorporate the AKAPAD army? Why do I record 24/7? Why am I so obsessive? I think it's episodes like today. There's two episodes I love to do. Episodes where the internet and the popular opinion, when I can deconstruct that, when I can bring to you guys a new position on something that's not supposed to be good and or watchable. The other type of episode I absolutely love is when I discover something and I get to bring it to you guys. And the third might be this, which is I've looked and I watched videos, I went through YouTube, I combed Reddit, and I tried to find some real conversation about the Street Fighter 2 animated TV show. Ran for 2 seasons, 13 episodes apiece. 1995 to 1997. 1995, if I can say that, is a time where I was actively playing the game. Now, I might be off by a year or two, but local, and I've mentioned this on stream a few times. We had a local pizza shop at the top of our street, and myself, my buddy Scott, this other kid Arius, that was a somewhat of a foil because he got quite good with Ken. But we would just go up and play. And Scott and Arius were naturals in picking up the motion, the joystick motion for the movements. And their timing was impeccable. And they could just play and pull off moves. And they were just tough guys to beat. In a large way, my Street Fighter playmanship is I'm still trying to catch up to those guys. And it's great to have that in your life, to see something great and to pursue it, because it gives you balance, it gives you a mission, and overall, it's just fun. It's fun to to keep practicing at something until you believe you think you're good. And a part of that chase is you'll never get good, even when you can do things, even when people are impressed. In your mind, it's never enough. So it's good to have those things in your life. If you can do it with video games and with something physical, find that balance and do it. So USA Network they were pushing to have some of these long-term, 5-season long, 6-season long animated properties. And their syndication didn't last very long, but we did get some good Savage Dragon episodes. We got earlier this year, I did the Mortal Kombat USA TV series where, they introduced a primetime new character in that later got adapted into the video games and is now a part of Quan Chi. Yeah, and Quan Chi is such an impactful character in Mortal Kombat. When you go through the character's roots, you land on this USA Mortal Kombat animated series. You want to say the direction for this is fantastic. Mortal Kombat, huge. Make a cartoon. Get those rights. Street Fighter 2, huge. Great characters. Get those rights. Make a cartoon. Where else are the kids? The kids are in comic shops. What's a hot comic book? Nothing's hotter than Savage Dragon. Get those rights. Make a cartoon. And this is of a era in American animation that's just highly forgotten, which again makes my head spin that there's not a deeper study for this outside of Reddit threads. When we get into Street Fighter 2, and some of this is coming from I'm actively working on a Street Fighter 2 sketchbook, and once I breached out of the original 8 characters, then they added 4, which were the playable bosses, so that was +4. Then they had the new challengers, which was another +4. So 16 in all. Outside of those original 16 characters for Street Fighter 2, things get absolutely confusing as of the time frame of the future releases, as of a chronological order. This is where you give a lot of credit to Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat has an absolute through line that is mind-boggling. It's admirable that you can really go from Mortal Kombat 1 all the way through Mortal Kombat X with spin-off games laid into the spectrum, and it all flows. It's all one big chronology. Street Fighter 2 just doesn't have that, and Street Fighter 2 doesn't attempt to unify it. There's no clear path. And the big problem with Street Fighter 2 is, what are we doing with the story? Like, no one's quite answered that. The games haven't answered that. The Jean-Claude Van Damme attempts to answer that. The Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie. But we get these attempts. We get somewhat of an attempt with the animated Street Fighter 2 Japanese anime. We get one with Street Fighter Alpha anime. There's a manga. In the US, there was Udon Studios that tried that thing. They even incorporated Darkstalkers into some of it. But there's been no focal point. No one aggregated all of these different threads, all of these different attempts, cherry-picked what worked, and laid it out. As of now, we still don't know. Is Street Fighter 2 Bison-centric? Is Street Fighter 2 a story of Ryu? How does the tournament fall into the devices and the plans and what Bison is up to? So a lot of times when we watch Street Fighter or read Street Fighter 2 adaptations, it's frustrating because if we play the game and we're familiar with the game, in our mind's eye, we want the tournament to be a major point of the story, and no one's able to figure this out. So you get stories where let's just have characters match up. If you want Chun-Li to go up against Vega in the hotel room with her freshly out of the shower, we'll do that. If you want Cammy to face off against Bison one last time, we got that. Street Fighter 2 just seems to be it's like a melting pot of these ideas, and it's strictly that. But this USA 1995 animated series, well, it makes it Guile centric. So it's adjacent to that Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie. And Guile is he's a G.I. Joe character. And his team are the Street Fighters, and they go on missions against Bison, because Bison is always up to no good. It gives the idea some direction, at least. If we can get rid of the thought that there's a tournament, this is the best way to get the matchups that we want. If we want Ken Masters or E Honda to go against Zangief, this is a great way to do it. And that's what we got in the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie, where Guile had an operative team. He had his own Navy SEALs or his own Black Ops, and they went on missions and that's exactly what Jean-Claude Van Damme was doing in Street Fighter. It's the only solution. Here's the wild thought. This is the only solution I've seen, that I've read, that works. Having a focal character be able to gather a team and direct that team. Guile's the only one with resources outside of Ken Masters, if you want to get into the lore. But Guile having a military background serves it. And Bison having a military background, being of the military. Guile is Duke and Bison is Cobra Commander. And we saw this because the G.I. Joe license went into 3.25-inch action figures around this time. So there were G.I. Joe Street Fighter figures. They also had them for Mortal Kombat, but we try not to talk about that. This 90s cartoon series is the only thing I've seen that makes sense when we add a story to the Street Fighter 2 characters. That's it. And I'm sorry, AKAPADers. That's all we got. And the runner-up would be the Udon Studios Street Fighter 2 comic book series. Number 3 probably would be the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie. And then it's a crapshoot. You can put anything into that 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th slot. There's not much to fill it in. It's somewhat shocking to me that there hasn't been a focus to do this. So who knows, AKAPADers, but just a quick thought. Don't dismiss this animated series, because it's the only viable solution when it comes to story that we have for Street Fighter 2.
Okay, that's a wrap.